Okay, first, good morning from the USA. There's a special program this evening, this morning from our end. And Sizi Goyah, senior analyst of the Liberia Public Radio, will be playing host to one of the senatorial aspirants. Let me just start the event. Good morning, good afternoon, Liberia. I'm Alfonso Z, and so there will be a special program this evening, this morning, our end, as a matter of fact. LPR senior analyst and senior analyst Sizi Goyah will be hosting Mr. VANDALARK Patrick, who is also a senatorial hopeful in the West African state of the Republic of Liberia. That is for MARGIBI County. Sizi Goyah is standing by in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Let me just bring him in. I believe his guest is also here. Let's see, the road to Capitol Hill. This is LPR. Rolling time is fast spent. Let me just bring in Sizi Goyah, who's going to be the main host here. Sizi, good morning. You're all smiling. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. So. How are you doing? I am elated. I'm excited. You know, anything that comes to improving Liberia always gets me happy. How are you doing this morning, man?
Okay. The clock is already eating to your guest is standing by. It's all yours, and I'm leaving this stage here. This conversation doesn't fit my category this morning, so it's all yours. I'm leaving you in the hands of comrades VANDALARK Patrick. And let me just bring him on. There you go.
Good morning, Liberia. Good afternoon, Liberia. Good morning, the USA. Welcome to the Liberian Public Radio. My name is Sizi Goyah, as always. This is our maiden edition of Simply Put. You know, Liberia is so important to us. It is the one thing we have. It doesn't matter where we travel. When you hold a U.S. passport, you are a Liberian first, American next. If you hold a British passport, you are Liberian first, American next. And so we are always excited when we get to talk about our country. And this is a maiden edition of Simply Put. Simply Put is going to be a program on Liberian Public Radio where we bring politicians, people aspiring to change the lives of our people, to just tell us, simply put, what you do for the Liberian people. And so I am very excited to have as my guest, my first guest on this maiden edition, my brother, a very smart and talented Liberian brother who's contesting the senatorial seat for MARGIBI County, Mr. VANDALARK Patrick. Mr. Patrick, welcome to Liberian Public Radio.
Well, thank you for this great opportunity to be on your platform, and to the listening public in the diaspora and a part of the world, including some of our brothers and sisters here in Liberia. I'm very happy. I'm gratified, and I'm excited to be on your platform this morning. But it's already 2:33 here in Liberia.
Yeah, man. I like your background though. Is that is telling us that you are with the people indeed. You are not sitting around no skyscraper right now.
You know, I was born and raised here in Firestone, so I am currently in Habel. If any of you know Habel, there's a place they call Olympic Drive. I came to see one of my friends. I have a couple of meetings. So I'm in the capital city of Firestone. That is Habel City.
I appreciate that. But thank you for making time. I know you are busy. You're a busy guy. So we appreciate you for squeezing us in. I think that speaks volume to the character of person you are. So let's get this ball moving. I have a question for you, Vandelak. I seen you. You came to the United States. You study here at one of the most prestigious universities. You have options in this country to stay here and work and make a lot of money. What motivated you to run for the Senate in MARGIBI County, and what specific goals do you have to achieve for the people of MARGIBI County if elected?
So basically, you know, Africa will be built by Africans. In the context of Liberia, Liberia will be built by Liberians. The great United States you see today, they had their own struggles. During the Black Revolution, led by Dr. Martin Luther King, they never ran away to go to Europe. They never ran away to go to Canada. They stood in defense of their democracy. America has their own problem. In the past, they had their own revolution. The history is there. So, but along the line, they decided to put their broken pieces together and build a new America. Liberia went under a period of bloody civil war for 14 years. My generation was used as instrument. I'm talking about a generation of young people was used as instruments of destruction. They armed my generation with arms and ammunitions to destroy lives and properties. After 14 years of civil unrest, the country is still backward. There is no functional educational system. Healthcare is deplorable. Our people are unemployed, abuse of human rights. And in the midst of all these competing challenges, I felt it was a moral obligation and a constitutional necessity for me to return to this country. As you said, after acquiring an education, I feel that I am more useful in Liberia, where every problem in this country requires technocrats and those with the political will to help put this country in the right trajectory. My return to Liberia is specifically I meant to see how do I enter the public sector to transform or reform some of the bad policies that have kept this country in abject poverty, kept Liberians in abject poverty. Running for the Senate, it will give me a better platform to articulate the views of our people in MARGIBI. It will also help me to concretize my many years of activism into policy actions. There are laws that have been made in this country that have not been in the best interest of our people. There are concessions agreements that have been signed in this country that did not meet the acquiescence of our people. Our people were not consulted. As a consequence of that, few groups of people have become rich at the detriment of the poor, and someone with over 15 years records of activism where I was physically and psychologically tortured, imprisoned many times, charged with sedition, charged with criminal conspiracy, charged with criminal libel against a certain president. For me, I want to enter the Senate to inspire confidence in the minds of a new breed of leaders who feel that they don't belong, who feel that they are politically and economically excluded in the national development of our country. I want to be a voice to transform the national legislature and make it work in the best interest of our people. So if you see me transitioning from activism to public elected office, it's meant to execute some of these things that I just mentioned.
That is a lot. So let's try to unpack some of those. So MARGIBI County, being a microcosm of the larger Liberian society, faces several critical challenges. You alluded to some of those, such as education, healthcare, and infrastructure. How do you plan to address these issues and work towards improving the overall well-being of the county's residents?
So, well, as you may know, and to your listening public, MARGIBI is a very strategic county. In fact, MARGIBI is the face of the Republic of Liberia. Whether you like it or not, when you land to Rabos International Airport, you land in MARGIBI. If you want to drive by road to go to Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, you have to pass through MARGIBI. So let me make this very clear. What do we intend to do to build a new MARGIBI that reflects national development, inclusiveness, where people feel that they belong, that their ideas are not trashed? The first thing I intend to do is to mobilize the citizen. If elected, my first 90 days is to mobilize the citizen to have what I call stakeholders meeting. We're going to map the entire MARGIBI to have, for the first time in the history of our country, to have a national development plan for 6 years. Because MARGIBI, from what I see, the country does not have a plan. It does not have a national development plan. We don't know what is going to happen in the next 6 months. The citizens are not even aware what is supposed to happen in the next 2 months. What's supposed to happen in the next 2 years. So we see, individual, this culture of political individualism, where development is centered around the political actors, the representatives, the senators. They go into the communities, they build hempom, they build wells. I do agree, these are good things. But what is supposed to be in the best interest of our people? Because if you receive money on behalf of the government, on behalf of the citizen, to carry on your individual project, and you try to, place that project in your name. So at the end of the day, you keep the people mentally enslaved. So every kind of development you see in the country, the hemp oil was built by this senator, this other market kitchen was constructed by this. We don't see anything that was constructed under the auspices of the country in general. What I intend to do is to mobilize the citizens, come out with a comprehensive plan. What are we going to be doing in the next 6 years? When we have a plan, then we have a blueprint. And the next thing we intend to do, maybe let's say, look, we want to have infrastructural development. Our roads are deplorable. We don't have market kitchens. We want stores. We want recreational areas. We want to build theaters. What our children, we don't have to go on the street. We want to build educational sector. For example, the Boko Washington Institute that I consider the MRT in MARGIBI, it need to be refurbished. We look at the Habel Multilateral High School. It was constructed around 1985 for the sole purpose of giving high school students not just academic learning, but vocational, a combination of both vocational and academic learning. We want to see about Lango Lepe. How do we revamp that institution to make it more accessible so we can have an increment in student enrollment? What do we need to do with around Escafi? These are the 4 public institutions. For the first time in the history of our country, we want to have, with the exception of BWI, we want to have boarding institutions like around Escafi, Habel Multilateral, Lamco Lepe. We want to expand. But where do we get the money from? MARGIBI has a county development budget of 425,000. Remember, the population of MARGIBI is 235,000. MARGIBI is the 5th most populated county in the Republic of Liberia. Regretfully, there is increment in unemployment. Educational institutions are deplorable. We don't have functional healthcare system. When we should have put all these blueprints together and catalog, the next question becomes, how are we going to raise the money to carry on these implementations? Number one, I have had a background in activism for almost 15 years. And MARGIBI is a lucrative country. We have so many concession companies in this place. You have Firestone is here. You have SRC is here. You have China Union is here. You have Farmington Hotel is here. We have all these big companies.
And
the question becomes, Akame, the question becomes, how do we arrive at the point where our people are poor. So in order to improve healthcare services, build a robust educational system in our country, we are going to demand these companies to give their fair share of their corporate social responsibility. The laws are clear. Any company that operates in a country, 10% of the taxes they pay the government, they should be giving to the MARGIBI, because we have all those companies. So, for example, if Firestone is giving the $12 million to the government of Liberia in taxes annually, 10% of 12 million is what MARGIBI going to demand. That is the law. We do the same thing to SRC. If they are giving 10 million to government of Liberia annually in taxes, we are going to be getting 10%. That is the law. But you don't see these things happening. Apparently, maybe people who are there, they have been using the back door to collect what's supposed to come to the country and use it for their personal aggrandizement. My job is to demand. We want to have a transparent MARGIBI where the citizen will know the source of their income, where we're supposed to get the money, and how the money is going to be expended, so that we can have a national development that is reflective of the people.
So you were digging into something, and I wanted to just give you a little bit more so you could expand on it. But I think you went as far as I would have thought to go. But so you're talking about the county not getting its fair share, and you highlighted a lot of places in MARGIBI, which for me, I know because I know of the KRTTI as an educator. I know of the Booker Washington Institute because I have family members that went there. They used to be like an elite, almost like akin to a technical vocational college in the U.S. And you talk about Lanco Lepe, and we talk about those a name like Lanco Lepe. It's both historical, as in the person the school was named after, and also the school has served a lot of people. Now, my question to you is that there are laws on the books, and it seems MARGIBians have not been getting their fair share. As a senator, you will be responsible for making or even maybe amending some of those laws. Can you highlight some of the key legislative priorities that you would champion to advance the interest and the well-being of MARGIBI County residents that you haven't already talked about yet?
So there are so many lapses. Like I said, MARGIBI is a concession areas. You know, we have so many companies operating here. Regretfully, there are laws that those companies have violated. For example, in the case of Firestone, Firestone is contracting almost 1/3 of the fine. And the law is clear. They're supposed to create employment opportunities for our people. They're supposed to provide educational opportunities for our people. They're also supposed to provide, a modern healthcare facilities so that our people, especially those workers, when they are sick, they can go to Dusa Hospital, they can go to any of their clinics and get treatment. But here's the issue. Sometimes around 2013 or 14, the government of Liberia went in cahoots with the Firestone management, and they came up with what they describe as decent work bill. That is not a decent work bill. Because, for example, you are living in the US. If you are hired by a company, as long as you are working for that company, and maybe you spend like 25 years, or the company decide to retire you, you are entitled to your benefit from that company. And if they were taking money from you and placing it in a 401k, it will also give you the opportunity, apart from the retirement package you're going to receive from the company, you are also going to be benefiting from your 401k. And the next thing is you're going to also benefit from your social security. In MARGIBI right now, our employees, when the company retire them, they don't give them retirement benefit. They send them to the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation to receive only one benefit. So now there is a high degree of deception in this case. The people work for you, Firestone. The people work for you for 25 years. It is your responsibility as a company to give them their duly earned retirement package before sending them to the National Social Security for Welfare Corporation to get additional benefit. But this is not happening.
So how do you
Firestone has delivered. It's not happening. They only retire our people and send them to National Social Security to get their benefit. And guess what? Some of them have ran beyond that benefit for over 4 or 5 years. they cannot get it. That is an abuse of human rights. My legislation would be, in order to reform that, will compare. I want to introduce a legislation that will compare all companies operating in this country. As long as you were the one to hire your workforce, when they are retired, the company must be responsible to give them their benefit and send them to NASCO to get additional benefit, provided if NASCO was taking certain portion of their money. Another amendment we want to make to that decent work bill that I describe as indecent work bill. Look, you don't have to work for 25 years. You don't have to reach 60 years before you are retired. Then you go to NASCO to go get benefit to start living a better life. No. We want to amend that law to say, look, as long as you have worked in a company for 10 years or maybe maximum 15 years, the company must be responsible to give you at least 50% of your retirement package. If you have worked for a company for 10 years with no bad record, you are entitled. We want to make a policy that an employee must be entitled to 50% of their benefit. If your benefit is supposed to be maybe less than 100,000, I am going to be suggesting if you work for 10 years for that company with good records, you must be entitled to 50% of that benefit. They're supposed to give you 50%. You can use that money to carry on investment. So you don't have to be 60 years to get your retirement benefit to start building your dream house. You cannot build your dream house when you are 60 years. But once you work for a company for 10 years with good record, we want to see our people receiving 50% of their retirement benefit.
Let me ask a clarifying question, Mr. Patrick. What would be considered a good record? Because I'm thinking that would be a loophole that our companies will use to not be able to deal with their responsibilities. So, in your view, what would be considered as good records?
No, the good record, the policies are there. They are good. They are employees, or you are quite aware. They are employees that demonstrate. They get standards. They tell you you're supposed to come to work. You don't lose day. You don't supposed to miss certain day. In a year, you can't exceed days and everything. It's not possible for everybody to violate a policy where everybody will not meet certain requirements. Finance are always giving people medals for good work.
So then in that case, will you support the unionization of employees so that they have a strong union to be able to fight for and defend union workers' right, just in case they're being abused by saying you weren't, you weren't whatever that an employee that qualified. When you fight, you might have qualified, because again, remember, the intent of most private companies is the bottom line, is to increase their bottom line. So if I can take money away from anybody and that helps my shareholders and my bottom line, I'm going to do that.
When I talk about, let me just clarify. When I say good record, I mean you work for the company for 10 years consistently. That's it. Once you are in the employ of the company, you work for 10 years. That doesn't mean you have not lost day, and you are not being suspended. You're not.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Receive warning letter. The fact you employ of the company for 10 years, you are automatically qualified to receive 50%.
Thank you.
Of your benefit.
Thank you, Mr.
You don't have to wait 25 years, or maybe you are 60 years, they give it to you, then you have to run behind that money and to go build your dream home. It's stupid. It's ridiculous for you to be 60 years to receive retirement benefit and then you go build your dream house. You must be working. This is what we describe as decent. What they have is indecent. We want to have something that is decent. While you are staying in the employ of a company, you must be entitled. After working for 10 years, you must be entitled to 50% of your benefit. You can use that money, maybe open businesses while you are still working, your money working for you. You understand? So this is what we want to do. And mind you, Firestone has a very good union. Not only Firestone, they have other companies that have unions as well. So this is going to buttress the workers' unions in this country so that they will have a law that will protect them. Because mind you, the companies are using these laws to subject the employees into abject poverty. That's one aspect. My second policy I want to introduce is to save more money. No public official must ride a vehicle, government purchase vehicle, about 25,000. No way. We want to introduce a law that will compel the government of Liberia, specifically the executive branch of government, to procure vehicles that do not worth, that are not more than 25,000. Right now, the national budget of the Republic of Liberia, almost 80 to 85%, is spent on administrative cost. Imagine you have 5 ministries. 5 ministers in one ministry. You have 1 minister, you have 2 deputy ministers, some of them get 3 deputy ministers, they have assistant ministers. And each of them ride a car that does not, that costs almost 60 to 70,000 just for an individual. We are saying, look, we'll pay you more money, that it will give you the opportunity to buy a car that you wish, but we will not buy you a car that worth more than 25,000. We're fighting corruption, save more money, invest in the people. So if you have, for example, you have Ministry of Finance, you almost have maybe about 7 ministers over there. My goal will be, look, with the exception of the first 3 ministers that want to buy them car, and those cars are not going to be more than 25,000. Whether you like it or not, government is not a place to bluff. Government is a place for service, to save more money, invest in the people. So if you think you're going to government to go around $100,000 car and you're competing with other ministries and agencies, it's not going to. We want to make sure that that law is passed. Once you have those laws passed, only 3 ministers want to buy them car. Maybe that's only 5,000, 3 vehicles. The rest, what we want to have is utility vehicles. Maybe you get about 5 vehicles or maybe 10. We'll pay you more money. You drive your private car, you go to work, you park your car. If you want to move from one ministry to another in Maserati or other parts of the place, you can have utility vehicle drivers will be assigned. It take you from one end to another. 5 o'clock, the cars are parked, and we save more money. We're not going to give you money now for gas slave. We're not going to give money now for scratch car. And all these kind of things are going to be a little problem. So we don't want to have that happen. So when you do that and you have a policy mandating these people to account that you're not supposed to buy a car, 60,000 or only $25,000 car, and only 30% going to supply in every ministry, the rest will be utility vehicles. I can guarantee you will save more money. We invest in the people, we build new school, refurbish our hospitals, our clinic, and create jobs for our young people. And Liberia will graduate from poverty to what I see economic freedom.
So I hear you say government should not be a place for people to go bluff. That reminds me of a candidate in the race that said government is not a place for people to go get rich, and that's Councillor Tewa Gonglo. So talking about decency, Mr. Patrick, women's empowerment and gender equality are essential for any thriving society. How will you ensure that women's voices are heard and that they have equal access to opportunities in MARGIBI County, including leadership role and education? And just to tag on to that, also include our family members who are living with disability. Because now in Liberia, for example, if you are a blind person, I understand. Can you hear me?
I'm listening to you. So,
if you are a blind person,
what I can say to you is that let me start forward with the issue of disability. Right now we are running a program to deal with the issue of disability. I had a time to travel to Italy some time ago, and I met a couple of friends, both foreign friends and some Liberians. So one of the things I put before them, how do we build a capacity of people living with disability? Being disabled does not mean you are incapable. And we see some of them, they can see. We see some of them, they can walk, they get hands. So what we intend to do, I think prioritizing vocational and technical education for people with disability is going to have many of them to live out of poverty very soon. Take for instance, if you take about 100 young people, who are disabled or people in their early 30s, because when you go across MARGIBI and across the country, you see many people who are disabled, they are in their early 40s, 50s, they still have their dreams to be pursued. So if you introduce computer literacy to them, if you introduce like sewing, like people investing in tailoring, for example, because there is a place right now to the Catholic compound in Banave. They train a lot of people, especially people with disability. After giving them those skills, they go back into the community, procure some materials where they can start on their own. And I've gone to realize I've seen many of them who were disabled, and after the completion of their training, they are now making money on their own. I know a guy who went to computer school. He now works with the Catholic Audacy of Banga. He's very brilliant. If you go out to Bon County right now to the Catholic Audacy of Banga, they will tell you. So my dream is to have the government of Liberia, of course, they have their own institution, National Commission on Disability. So what we can do is to invest. The first thing, we have to increase their budget. These people have a budget of now more than 1 million. That is an abuse of human rights. These people are also considered the most vulnerable groups of people in this country. And you have a budget that is less than $100,000 that will receive. And as a consequence of that, it follows imprisoning them into abject poverty. But if you have, for example, you appropriate $5 million, let's establish a special vocational institution to build the capacity of these people in the tech industry. And we mandate every government ministry and agency, including those who work in the private sector, to take one of the most qualified people with disability in every ministry and agency, beginning with the national legislature. It will send a caveat that people living with disability are people with competence, they can work. Let me be very honest. If we do that, we're going to reduce unemployment. I'm going to take people every time when I drive, I see some of them begging, they're using the children to go on the street to beg because they don't have skills, they can utilize, they don't have anything. For example, the tailoring industry in this country. If you train many of these people, especially women, and you give them vocational skill, you empower them where they can sew. We can have like maybe a fair where they can bring all their materials and people go there to prioritize them. You give them a form of dignity. When schools are about to open, maybe government schools in this country, many of these people who are disabled and they can sew after building their capacity, government can give them contract to sew uniform for all government schools in this country. So believe me, these people will never be out of money. They will raise more money. So we'll be empowering them.
Let me hold you midway on there, because I know you have to respond to the issue of women's empowerment. But you just talk about something that is near and dear to my heart: education, and with respect to our brothers and sisters that are living with disabilities. There are not many government institutions that are built structurally that allow for, say, our brothers and sisters who are in wheelchairs, that will be able to access those buildings. And when you think about the blind and the hard of hearing, there are not many government public institutions that are teaching Braille or teaching sign languages. What would you do? What would Senator Patrick's do? What legislation, what amendment will you do to the education reform bill that will allow these people to have equal access as Liberians, to have equal share to the Liberian pie, so that they are able to access institutional educational institutions, that when they are even employed by government, that these buildings are wheelchair accessible? What do you intend to do for that? Because that is a part of having these people empowered and having them be able to live a decent life.
So it's not just about school, but the way people see them on the street, they're in the wheelchair, they have to fight for a car, they go to hospital, they are not prioritized, they are in line. But everything has a beginning point. My point is to go first to ensure that a policy is made. Look, we cannot have the National Commission on Disability operating with less than $1 million budget. Already the people are at a very serious disadvantage. Then you give them a budget of less than 1 million. It means you are just digging hole to bury them. And that is an abuse of human rights. We don't want that to happen. The first thing we intend to do is we put the money in the covers of the National Commission on Disability, responsible to seek the indulgence or the welfare of people with disability in this country. The government now, along with the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Public Work, and all online ministries and agencies, to ensure what educational programs would be good. For example, for me, I'm prioritizing vocational and technical education. Like BDOIA, for example, can we train people in sign languages and other people, different areas? We are a complete section at that particular area. How these people can go for and acquire skill, then from there they can be utilized in society. While they are making money, they will be talking at the university level. We don't want to compound the problem. We want to first start with skills, because Liberia has not prioritized the issue of people living with disability. Let me be very clear. We also want to have a policy. We've got to be very clear. When I was in Washington, D.C., you see people with disability. The driver will get down, make sure, get that person in the car, and everybody there not to talk. You sit down, because these people were not born like that. You got to show love to them. In Liberia, we don't have good roads. We don't have good transportation and sector. The best way to add value to these people, first, if they can make their own money, they have place they call a place of work. If they can work, the fact that they can be accommodated in ministry and agency. You talk about people blind and wheelchair. Look, it's a policy. It will be implemented. When they go there, they get people, they will pull them. Or how do these people go to the hospitals? Somebody will be assigned to them. As far as people will be in the ministry and agency to provide assistance for these people. And when these assistances are given to them, it becomes a culture. From the beginning, there will be reluctance, there will be resistance. But over a period of time, they will adapt. People who are blind. Being blind doesn't mean you cannot do any work. I know a guy who is blind, but when that guy sits behind the computer, you'll be thinking that guy can see. He used to be at the World Trade Center. And he kept very well. Value to such a man. I can hire, and you know what? If I'm elected senator, I'll have one person, from the disabled community. Right now, there's a young man attending the Cottington University or Junior College in Kakata. He has engaged me. In fact, we have found sponsor for him. I pray I'm successful. When I'm in the Senate, such a man will be assigned directly in my office so that his life can improve, and it sends a different message that being disabled does not mean you are incompetent or you are not able to improve the living conditions, of your family. And these people go out, they get families. How do we expect them to feed their families? Oh, because they are disabled. I think we can work on these kind of disabled policies. That's why I say it's going to be a consultation, having a dialogue to listen to them. How does the government intend to help them? What are their recommendations? And government will sit, and come up with solutions. But for me, I intend to address the issue, in a way that I think will help them, because one day is a mandatory policy that every ministry and agency in the Republic of Liberia, government ministry and agency, including the private sector, at least you must have 1 or 2 persons with disabled, but who are very competent to work in the ministry.
I think we're having some network problems in Liberia.
Agency, so that we can add value to.
Okay, we're having some network issues. I think we will take a break. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Liberian Public Radio. This is our maiden edition of Simply Put. We will take a quick commercial and be right back. Thank you, and welcome back. Thank you. Welcome back to Liberian Public Radio. My brother, Mr. Patrick, we understand that such is the condition in Liberia. The network is continuously in and out.
Yeah, but it's raining here.
I know. Thank you for making the time. We appreciate it. There was a bigger first half of the question, and that had to do with women's empowerment and their access to leadership and educational opportunities. Are you still
go ahead.
Yeah. So on the issue of equity and equality for women and their access to leadership and education and their fair share of the national pie, what say you?
Well, I think women empowerment, the fact that gender is not a qualification, let me make that very clear. In as much as we want to give opportunity to women, we know they're being at a very disadvantageous position in this country, dating back as the days of old, where our people felt that women were only good to cook and to bear children, and men were the only people to go to school. Some families still do that today. First, we have to inspire them. We have to encourage them. Yeah, in as much as the government wants to help, we got to prioritize that. And to start with that, we got to start working in institutions. Women empowerment starts in the school. Even when you go right now, the good thing about it is that statistically, there are more young girls going to school in MARGIBI than the boys. If you go into the ghetto, you'll find a lot of young girls, or young boys in the ghettos than the girls. Many of them are in school, young girls are in school, but many of the boys, they are not in school. So that speaks volumes of maybe in the next 10, 15 years, the leadership of this country will be dominated by women, provided if they take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to them. Number one, we want to introduce something we call entrepreneurship in the schools. We're teaching our children, we're teaching our students that the only way they will be successful until they graduate from high school, go to college, get a degree, then they start to look for work. No. If we start to teach our girls while they are still young, that they can still be in school and become productive in society without going to college, they will develop a sense of belonging. They will become very mature to give back to society rather than waiting to go to college 4 years, go get master, another 2 years, and some of them want to go get PhD to come back to contribute. So we have to work with academic institutions to develop programs to incorporate. Our whole educational sector has to be reformed. We don't want to see our children going to school and somebody doing 13 subjects, 14 subjects. That is ridiculous. Does not conform to current. Some of them don't have the mindset to go do chemistry, biology. If they want to go into the arts, let them be specialized in the arts. If they want to be medical doctor or the sciences, or want to be chemist in the future to work in the medical area or engineering area, they should specialize in the sciences. Let's give these students an option to learn, because look, you cannot comprehend. Look, some of us were mentally subdued to do 15 subjects. You can't do everything. Some of the things we learn way back today, they are not even useful in our lives. So we have to understand that the new Liberia we intend to build is to conform to existing problems. Some of them, they are very good in entrepreneurship. Some of them, they are very good in the arts. So let's develop them in different sectors. So the best way to do that is to work with academic institutions to have programs that will incorporate young girls, maybe give them, like macro loan, maybe vacation time loan. This is why they can write projects, they can win some grants to start their startup, like business startups, can bring experienced business people in the international community in Liberia who were successful to go to those schools and inform these young girls. You can do this to come out of poverty, because people will take advantage of you when you are young. You ask them for school fees, they pay the school fee 1 year, 2 years. The next thing, they have to lie down with you in bed. And in the process, you get pregnant, you drop from school, and they will never come around. As a consequence, as a consequence of that, it will be a problem. So that is the kind of economic empowerment we want to give, to make sure that some of the things, are in the best interest of our people. So that's one. The second aspect is we must have the government of Liberia becoming very committed to spending specifically, and this is what I want to do. Every year I have made a promise. Every year I want to have not less than 10 students, females, send them abroad to specialize in certain discipline to come back in this country and contribute to national development. We also want to encourage academic institutions, schools, to make it mandatory that in democratic student elections or association in high schools or colleges, students, specifically the females, must be prioritized, because if we don't encourage them to stand for leadership, to begin to exemplify leadership in the high schools and colleges, they will develop that mentality. When they get on the national scene, they will not prioritize anything. So this is what I have always said, that women empowerment will be a very cardinal issue in my agenda.
Let me hold you to something you said. You said that gender is not a qualifier, and that we need to ensure that we encourage our girls to take opportunities when they avail themselves. But you just spoke about the issue of systemic roadblocks, and one of them is when girls get pregnant, they drop out of school. Those are systemic roadblocks. You have two people get involved in an act. One of them has to abandon their future and their future earnings, and that create a pattern of dependence and a pattern of poverty. Because once mom drop out of school, chances are her children along the way, there are research that show will drop out of school. So my question to you is, yes, if the opportunities are there, we hope our sisters and mothers and aunties can make use of them. But what do we do to remove those systemic roadblocks? If a girl is, for example, receiving, if she's on a monthly, most of our schools don't have nurses and those resources that will allow those girls to go to school whilst they're experiencing that natural bodily function. They have to stay home and they don't have those sanitary pads. So what would a Senator Vandala Patrick do to ensure that those systemic roadblocks are removed so that our girls and our mothers and our women have equal access to be able to compete equally for national resources?
So, like what we said, look, the thing is about being open. We've not been open-minded in discussing these critical issues. In the first place, like I said, our educational curriculum has to be reformed to conform with the existing realities. We want to have like sex education. When I was in the 3rd grade, they told us about sex education, how to take care of yourself. I remember one Dr. Gono used to come on our campuses, and lift your arm. He takes you in a private area. He checks you. He tells you what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do. But these things are not being discussed because we still operate on a traditional, primitive system where a teacher is not supposed to talk anything that has to do with sex. Allow his rule. He's going beyond the line. And these things has to be incorporated into our curriculum. And this is where we have medical doctors, we have nurses, to get them into the school at least once in a week to come and talk about sex education, to educate these girls. This is what you need to do to prevent pregnancy. This is what you have to do, to live long. This is what you need to do to make sure, in as much as you come from a very disadvantageous position, you can still become, someone very credible and important in society and make your parents proud. I grew up, I made a promise, to my mom. I will never have a child except I have a master's degree. And I kept to my promise based on what I was told by Mr. Gono. Dr. Gono used to teach at Cottington, and inspiration children get. Imagine I was in the 3rd grade when I was indoctrinated with the mindset that, look, it is not good while you are young and you have child. In as much as, I was a male, I grew up with that mentality. I said, no, I want to have a master's degree before I bring forth a child. I don't want to have a child while I'm still going to school. So if you have professional doctors and nurses working with academic institutions, going in the school to have a one-on-one counseling, most schools, they don't have school counselors. And some of these students, they want to communicate. They may be ashamed to tell their parents because in the home, the child is not supposed to tell the parents certain thing. Imagine if a girl child tells a typical African man, Papa, I receive it. The first thing they say, oh, you're doing everything. They blasting alone. It would discourage them. So we want to have an open conversation in our academic institutions where the teachers will be free to speak, where people can come into the school to talk to the girls because they are at a very disadvantageous position. They get pregnant, as you said, they will not come to school, they have to sit down. So we can develop a strategy catching them while they are young, to go to the school and you give them. The more the people have open conversation, the more they will learn. Now, rather than taking stake and running behind the child, you get pregnant. This is how some of them go out to go take a pregnancy, and at times death occur. We don't want that to happen. So we want to have an open conversation. And when these open conversations are going on, we bring in activities that will make them not to be distracted from their educational pursuit. When the students go on the campus and they don't see anything good, that encourage them to pursue their education, to begin to develop their ambition to become maybe entrepreneurs, to become nurses, and some of them going into the tech industry, and nothing is in the school, believe me, they will be discouraged. They will completely be discouraged. They will never want to go to school. And they say an idle mind is the devil's workshop. Eventually, someone will manipulate them, boyfriend will come, because they are not focused. When you are focused with your lesson and you are constantly engaged, believe me, you'll be determined. So this is the kind of conversation we need to have with academic institutions. Our curriculum is not reformed in a way that really address the issue of gender in this country, where we can reduce the gender disparity in terms of education, in terms of work, in terms of business. Many of the young girls you see here, they have the ability to grow their own startups, to start something on their own while they are staying in school. But no one is giving them the motivation. There are no programs in the school that allows them to do that. The only thing we see every Friday in this country, that keyboard sport day, they're supposed to have that time to go do start up, and people come and talk to them, give them money to start something, maybe during vacation, to do something. We want to see them going, serving as volunteers or interims with big startup or some companies where they can grow the mindset and say, look, I think I can be like this person. You see, a typical child growing up in the US, as soon as they are 18 years, they will start looking for a job, because they see mommy and daddy going to work every morning, and they're coming home so now 5 or 7 o'clock. They know the source of income is to work. They're not going on the street to go and back. Here, they sit down, father is not working, papa is not working. They go to the academic institution, nothing. Every Friday, that's sport day, talent show. Look, we got to be very clear in this country. Every talent in this country is useful. We need to manage the expectation of these young people. Some of them have skills. You saw the ghetto kids from Uganda. These kids were dancing on the streets. But guess what? Somebody utilized their talents, at the same time getting money and using the money to educate them. We see so many young girls in this country. They can dance, they can sing. Some of them have the ability to do good computer. If you see some of them playing with computer instruments, you will understand that, oh, these people only need some level of empowerment. Once they are empowered, brother, we can reduce poverty in this country in less than 10 years. We just need to structure it and put this into place.
So I like the conversation, but I see that the bulk of your talk was about prevention. We get these people, we talk to the kids, we do sex ed, we read fine, we do prevention. That's fine. But my question to you, and real quick, so we pivot to something else. My question to you is, if prevention doesn't work, and a girl gets pregnant, a woman gets pregnant while in school, what is a Senator Vandella Patrick would be willing to do to look back at our education laws and be able to ensure that that person who is impregnated doesn't have to be forced to stay at home, that there are still educational chances and opportunities for them to go to school while if they so choose?
No, I think education is a right. Let me just make that very clear. I like to be very clear. In as much as we're going to advocate for the protection of people who get pregnant while they are in school, and I want to make this very clear, I would not want to have a big belly sitting in the class with someone who is 17 or 15 years. It will not send a very good message. Number one, they will be intimidated. It's almost like in the US. You can't have someone who is 10 years old.
Is this based on research?
Come again?
Is that based on research that people people who are pregnant sitting in the classroom with 17 years old will be intimidated?
No, I'm just trying to address the question, because you are trying to ask me, there will be this allowed to go to be the remedy that we intend to put into place. I'm saying the student was in a class, maybe they were 18 years and they got pregnant, and while they were in the class, they had other people who were 15, 16 years sitting with them. They get pregnant. We're not going to throw them away. I think there are other options, and this is where private institutions now, that offer nice school, for other people, not even for pregnant women, but people who have gone below the age of academic institution to sit in the classroom. We're not going to talk about that. What we are going to be talking about specifically is to provide an opportunity to them to go to school. Yeah.
My question is not to outsource that to private institutions. What will public institutions be required and mandated to do to ensure that whether it's night school, We can't outsource that to a private institution. I'm talking about a public institution that is using public resources and public tax dollars. What would Senator Patrick be willing to do to ensure that there are resources in public institutions for those people to continue their education?
No, but here we're talking about public-private partnership. There are some academic institutions that, what if the girl is in a private school and she get pregnant? So are we saying we're not going to address them? There are some areas, now all of them going to be.
You do agree that you have very limited control of the private institution versus the public institution?
Oh, no. I think anything, you just need to standardize that. I think everything that we're lacking here is policy.
Are you telling me that if Senator Patrick will be recommending the same thing that a private institution does, that a public school does? So you're telling me that, for example, a cathedral and a Tottenham High will also be required to do the exact same thing by law?
No, the point I'm saying is we are addressing a gender. A girl gets pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking what is the remedy we're going to put into place so that she cannot be denied education.
Right.
My point is a girl can get pregnant in public school, Tottenham High, and another girl can get pregnant to cathedral.
Mm-hmm.
The point is, as a senator, it's not to pick and choose. I'm not concerned about where you attend. As long as you find yourself in our category, this is where I talk about public-private partnership. In some instances, government schools have nice school where the students can further their education. In some instances, government school will not be in a position to provide such, opportunity for the student to continue their education because they lack electricity. Maybe the only available institution that will be in our particular environment will be a private school. So this is where public-private partnership comes in. Like, for example, they get some places, in a country where government schools are not available. And the government is sponsoring students in the private schools. So public-private partnership will be one of the remedies. And this is where I stressed from the beginning. It requires a comprehensive assessment. Sitting here, I'm just trying to give you an instant of what I have observed, and I have seen it as a problem. I'm looking at it from a technical perspective. How do we go about dealing with these things? But the teachers, the PTA, that is the Parent Teachers Association, and the students themselves will have to be engaged. We have to do a comprehensive stakeholders mapping to sample their views. How do we intend to address this thing? Maybe the way we are thinking from a technical perspective will not be the way they want to address it. For example, in the interior parts of the country, when a girl gets pregnant, she's in the 6th grade. How do we intend to address that? So when you go across the city in the interior parts of the country, their remedy to addressing these things will be completely different from what people see in the city. You understand? So we still have a challenge with educational reform. So what I can tell you is to secure more money. And this is where it comes back to what I told you. We'll fight corruption, save more money, spend on the people. And in spending this money on the people, some of the problem we just talked about, as long as the money is available, my brother, a solution will come. I'm telling you, as long as the money is available, you say about 10 billion in the play, the money is available. You say, okay, we're building a special school. As soon as you get pregnant, you go there, you continue. You can't say incline with other people. Teachers will come. In fact, you attract some of the best teachers to be teaching the BBLS. You attract some of them. What the money cannot do. Once the money is available, people will be, even some people that are teaching in the university, they will even want to go over there to go.
When money comes, solution can. Okay, so in the last 10 minutes, real quick, one of the critical challenges in Liberia is fostering social cohesion and reconciliation after so many years of conflict. How do you plan to promote unity and understanding among the diverse communities in MARGIBI County to build a peaceful and inclusive society? And I will want you to also, I know you're running for MARGIBI, but this is also a holistically Liberian issue. If you want to expand on the entire country, that will also be nice.
So basically for me in the country, specifically MARGIBI, I think there is what I call political exclusion. And once there's political exclusion, you don't have commonality of ideas. People will not be able to sit on the same table to discuss. Many of the young people in this country have been politically and economically excluded in the decision-making process of this country. So what we can do, one, and that's why we are seeking the office of Senate. MARGIBI was established December 15, 1985. 38 years ago, they told our generation, they told my generation, that we were the future leaders of this country, specifically MARGIBI. 38 years ago, the same people who have been running this country, they are coming back, competing with us in a future. They promise that it will be milk and honey. This is a serious political accident and an inherent contradiction. So going into the Senate will give me the opportunity to promote what I call intergenerational representation. To reconcile MARGIBI and across the 15 political subdivisions of this country, we need to prioritize the idea of intergenerational representation, where some of the brilliant young minds, very sophisticated, they can come and sit with the people who are already in government to build a new future, to build a new MARGIBI. You cannot exclude people because tomorrow, believe me or not, that's why we continue to have brain drain in this country. One man will be teaching, in a department and no other person, as soon as that person expires, you don't have a perfect replacement. So reconciliation comes in twofold, giving people opportunity. It's not just about, oh, you hurt me, we should go and reconcile. No. If the old people are getting job, the young people must also be prioritized in getting job. How do they go and improve the living condition of their people? Because they are growing up and they have to improve. That's one. The second thing we intend to do, reconciliation, has to come with straightforward behavior. I think we pretend too much in this country. People are not held accountable. Cannot reconcile when one man go and steal maybe 100,000 that is supposed to be intended to improve the living condition of the people, and you want to go after that person and say, oh no, we should reconcile. No, we will reconcile by ensuring we hold people accountable. When we prosecute you, we prosecute John Brown, we prosecute Mary Paul, it will serve as a deterrent that we are not just going after people based on malice, but we're going after people because of the crime that they committed. When you prosecute him based on certain principles and you are not picking and choosing or selective justice, that also facilitates or promotes what I describe general reconciliation. Lastly, I think across the 15 political subdivisions of our country, we should not mix, reconciliation with trying to ignore the issue of human rights abuse. Because every time you talk about reconciliation, oh, it means somebody committed a crime, so that person, you should not go after them, let back on be back on. No. John F. Kennedy said, forgive your enemies, but never forget their names. We agree, we forgive, but the law is the law. We have to implement the law. When you reconcile based on the full implementation of the law, everybody will be subjected to the law and everybody will obey the law and nobody will be above the law. The only reason laws are made because they are meant to be applied on people and institutions. If those laws are genuinely and sincerely applied on people and institutions, there will be a national reconciliation. Because when you commit a crime, you get it at the back of your mind, they are going for you. If you steal government money in the country, they say they're going to arrest you, they will audit you, everybody will have to be in single file. So reconciliation, it has to be with retribution and full implementation of the law and making sure young people are brought on the table, including women. When we are giving jobs to people, we got to reconcile that certain portion of women must be in our leadership structure in MARGIBI. We want to see certain percent. I don't believe in giving women certain percent, 20%, 10%. No. When you are equal and you are qualified, honor the law, and you meet the competence, we give it to you. We don't want gender to be like a qualification. Oh, me and woman, so prioritize you. No. Because what if you are unproductive and because of your gender will pull you there? We don't want that to happen because we want to have a new MARGIBI that reflects, a collectivity of ideas and your competence to promote national development in the country and inspire other people to be like you. You can't inspire people because of your gender. You understand? So this is what we intend to do. So reconciliation is going to be very clear. We'll prosecute people. When you steal, we'll grab you. And it is proven that you steal, we prosecute you. You can be big, you can be small or middle, man, woman, boy, or girl. As long as you cross the line, we will prosecute you. That alone will also demonstrate general reconciliation that we are not picking and choosing.
Okay. So real quick, I love the conversation, but we're running out of time. But I want to touch on something because you're a young man and you spoke about a future that was promised to you. And now people who promised those futures to you are now competing with you in that very same future. So I'm thinking about climate justice. The president has been to several accords regarding climate change and preserving our forests and stuff. Climate change is a global concern, and this also impacts Liberia. We all know that. What measure will you support or propose to address issues that promote sustainable development in MARGIBI County while safeguarding natural resources and biodiversity for future generations?
So, let me be very honest. The issue of climate change is new to Liberia. Let me be very honest. Very, very new, even in my country. But what we can do is, I think we have to work on the laws that allow companies, concession companies, because what they do, many of our people, they used to living, their traditionally primitive life, and they have lived there for years. They have their shrines. This is what define them as Africans. So when a company goes into their area to acquire their land, in acquiring those land and the beauty of their forest, they don't compensate these people. They don't give them, they don't build schools, they don't compensate them, they don't build hospital. So at the end of the day, there's something we call migration. When these people begin to illegally migrate from one point to another, you take them from here, improve their condition and everything. They move from here, they go further in one forest, they start cutting all the trees in that place. So we have to work on laws that allow concession companies to go into certain area, acquire the people land. You don't improve their living condition. They don't have good schools, no hospitals, and these people will not stay there and die. So the next thing in nearby area, where they can make farms and where they can send their children to school because that is their source of income. So policies that allow our people to migrate from one point to another, it has to be, those policies have to be reformed. When you have a very powerful, policy that holds concession companies accountable for their going and take people land, develop that, believe me, the issue of climate change will be addressed. Because when you operate, the issue of pollution, when you pollute the people water, you got to pay. You understand? You polluting the people water, you got to pay.
I think we're having a network connectivity issue. We're sorry. Welcome to Liberia Public Radio. We hope we'll be able to get back Mr. Patrick. But as we're all aware, this is rainy right now in Monrovia, in Liberia today, in MARGIBI where he's at, and so he's having some issues with network connectivity. But we were just winding down. So if my brother, Mr. Patrick, can get back on, we'll allow him to have his closing statement, and then we will call this a day. Mr. So, are you around, my producer? Can you come on screen while we await Mr. Patrick's a contender in MARGIBI County that is trying to go toe to toe with the porcupine to come back on. What do you think? What is your impression of the brother?
Well, first of all, Sese, thank you so much. You compelled me to come on this morning. It's like active service is being called. You got to come to duty. That's the reason what I've been off here. But I thank you so much. That was a quite fascinating conversation. I was monitoring closely to watch out to see how this is going to play out. I knowing this guy is on your ticket, so I'm wondering, is this guy going to kind of feed into the bite this morning? Is he preparing? Is that sort of breakfast or lunch he going to give to Vandela Patrick? But overall, I think it was a good conversation. Quite a while I have not seen a conversation of a substance. How many days to election today? 79 days to go. 79 days. Listen to information outlets in the diaspora, in Liberia, the talking point. How are they holding these people accountable? And you being an educator, that's your heart and soul. And I like how he puts that. But what I noticed, he has a very good approach that seems to be holistic. And what seems to be lacking is that how does he intend to achieve this? Because it cannot just be only Vandela Patrick if he's elected senator. Remember our guy, DeLon, he came and he called his colleagues spineless, this and that. Forgetting to know this building that you see behind me is all about consensus buildings. You have to get other people from the other side of the aisle in order to make your goal achieved. Talking about salary. Now, tell me, the guy that is there already getting 15 grand or 20 grand, whatever it is, he has budgeted himself, it's his family. I am not giving justifications of their doing that
Yeah,
is
but you're
wrong,
right. You're
but
right.
tell me, how can you persuade or bring this guy to the table to say, hey, let's cut that slash? Those guys has budgeted themselves for past years and years. It's been going. So it takes people of courage, resilient, being very persuasive to convince those kind of people. So I didn't hear much of his consensus buildings. Is he just going there because Liberty Party, not Liberty Party, Liberian People Party is opposition? So will he have a dialogue with the ruling establishment or other parties that do not agree with his political ideologies? So how is he going there? He's not going to do it alone, But I think
But
it's a good conversation.
in all fairness to him, that was actually my parting question. I was going to ask him how he was going to achieve all of those things, knowing that he's not going to be executive president. He kind of work with everybody else there to make sure those things pass. But like you rightfully said, for me, I like the conversation. I don't agree 100% with all of the points you stressed, and you saw me pushing back on some of those things. But I think the conversation was fruitful. And again, this is simply put, I didn't have the chance to ask my brother at the end of the day, simply put, how will you make all the things you work for the
Was this
Liberal?
orchestrated by you guys or what? Was
Oh,
this?
but you see, the Liberal coming for you, down the or you the Liberal or
You
you
know
that?
what? The liberal. I've been off for a little while. I intend not to kind of like. I'm not gonna allow this guy to spin my hair. I'm still not in the kind of mood that I am. So that's the beauty of this network here. Title is not of our priority. We all are equal. Function is what matters. So the liberal, he's been having a lot of issues. He's been suffering heavily. Newton Ketter been beating him up with a guy, the IE guy from
I saw
Georgia
better get
A&M.
already. Have a book yet today.
I'm not going to pay attention. Liberal is trying to seek attention at this. So it is an unnecessary tantrum he's throwing. I'm not going to pay heed to it. I know him. He texted me, but I'm not even going to answer him. But I
But
think the conversation was good. It was
yes,
good.
yes. And the reason we lay out this way is to make sure that all of the whatever 800 plus people who are running for the legislature in Liberia, this is a place to come and we ask you fair questions. We don't belabor the points. We're not going to beat you down to buy our ideas. I disagree with certain things that my brother Vandala Patrick said, but that is his plan. And I can only ask for clarification and clarity for the Liberian people. So I saw my brother Alvin on here, and we are reaching out to everybody. Whether you belong to a political party or you're running as an independent, as long as you are running to represent and lead our people in Liberia, this platform is open to you. Simply put, come to LPR and their police simply what you plan to do for our Liberian people so that people can hear you out. And so, because our intent is to ensure that when people go to vote, whatever vote they cast, that it is an educated vote, that they have decided based on everything they heard, this is the person they're going with. And so that is the intent of Simply Put.
Right.
And we're hoping to have more people to show up on this platform. You come, you say what you got to say. We ask you clarifying questions. We move on. This is not a hostile seat. This is by no means a hot seat. We just want to hear from you. We want to let people to hear from you.
Yeah, and before you go, I think the issue of and something you touched on that was very vital, and I'm quite sure you're working with the Gonglo campaigns as well on the education. It doesn't make sense. And people, we all suffer from this thing here. You are allowing students to go over 15 subjects without having speciality to focus. What is that? At the end of the day, they do not make use. They do. It's nothing. So people, they got to be very strategic in this modern society, so the student, they can narrow it down to have a specific that they can specialize in, so that they'll be able to do. But you have somebody, they can't even get their daily meal. They can't even get a good balanced diet. They eat today, they are not sure what they're going to have tomorrow. I know, I saw that. Told me sometimes you walk because of the uniform you used to wear. Taxi bus never used to stop because some of our students, people were also doing things out of the way. You ride on people's car and you get down, you don't want to pay, you do that. So as a result, Everybody suffers it. So I think the education system, it needs to be
It's
revised
not
to
the point.
move
I
to
mean,
this.
even in this country, we got core classes that everybody take, and then you got electives.
Yes.
So not everybody should take the same electives. But you put the number out there. I think it was by accident or whatever was intentional. We got about 3 more minutes. At 45, I gotta go. So what
Which
I
number?
want to
Which
call
number?
the number right on your face that is 6. You got a 6. Oh, that's
Oh
a
no!
6.
Oh well, no, that one that that for
Yeah,
cash out. They didn't call yet. Nobody
please,
called yet.
because we see you giving money to plenty thing there. Your
They will
please.
never do it because you know what? And
But Keto, call Mr. Soul number if you got something to say, because I saw you typing here so I
I
can go.
don't even know what I'm not even sure whether my phone is, the line is connected though.
Because when they
Unless
call me, I
you
got to
call.
put you on speaker. I know other people will hear it.
Yeah. When he calls, you should put you on speaker.
Okay,
And just
Keto,
before that,
call my number, and I'll put you on speaker. Let hear what you got to say in 3 minutes so I can go.
another thing that got me sick, Sissy, and I'm kind of like penning down because of my daughter's situation, and so but I saw yesterday what some disadvantaged youth graduated, whatever the numbers,
Yep.
and I see celebration people going. I don't get it. That's not his job. That's not what Jack Ray is doing here to me. And this is how the system fails in Liberia. We had a Captain Mill Rehabilitation Center. These people, it is their responsibility for them to make provisions, the National Rehabilitation Center. So what happened? Is he on the line now?
You can hear him?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear, brother.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, go ahead, Keto. What you got? What you say, my man? Don't come through Tabata on me about making you address nicely the money for the program.
Why you decide to take Keto phone call?
You guys have a very, very interesting conversation, and knowing that Patrick is a man who, he talks a whole lot. He's a reservoir of knowledge. My thing here is, it's not actually this election of Vendala Patrick running election. My concern is young Liberians. After we have advocated for all of the bad things that happen in the country, no good governance, the way we treat our people, unemployment. We come to this great nation, we get educated, we have contacts. The only place we want to go to make change is in government. And I frown at that. I think young Liberians should try to move past government, engage in the private sector, open private sector, enable Liberians, Irish Liberians, enable them, in his word, empower them through the private sector, and then the government can shrink. Because the idea that I will come here, get educated, and go to Liberia just to occupy a senatorial position or a representative position or a ministerial position, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but this is the reason why a lot of people gravitate to the government, because they're going to go steal. They're not going to do anything that you and myself don't know about. They got good laws on the book, but the people are not capable of implementing those laws.
So let me ask you a quick question, Keto. So the young people should leave government for old people and then go to private sector. That your analysis?
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not.
But you said that young people, the advocate, we should go open business investment and leave government for the old people.
No, that's not what I'm saying. People are already on the ground. People are in Liberia who are working in government and doing this. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying on a general scale, on a general level, the idea that only in government we can make change or effect change is a myth. And we've seen it over and again with different people coming into offices, making big promises, and when they go there, they do even worse than the people they criticize. My thing is, how is it that we cannot invest in our own private sector? We can open private sector and I mean open the private sector all to our young people.
Let me hold you there, Keto, because you're going down a path that I've heard a lot of Liberians say. Like even sometimes when we're on this platform and we're being critical of leaders, of powerful people, you get people that will say, "You're just in America, I'm not a beamer." And how many people in power, like, bro? How many businesses you got? What makes people think that by being in the diaspora, that somehow somebody got enough money to be able to open a business or to invest? Just because Vendetta Patrick graduated from Harvard doesn't mean that he has hundreds of thousands of dollars to go open businesses. So why should he be limited to opening opportunities and not people in Liberia also be held to the same standard?
Well, this thing is not particularly Vandala action. I mean,
no, but I've heard people have told me the same thing too. That I said I am not a be more. How many factories are opening Liberia? It's the I got no money to open factories. I'm not going to Liberia because I open factories.
So Sese,
what people are actually saying is we have the edge, we have the upper hand. We can mobilize ourselves here. We can mobilize resources here. We can do a lot here to ensure that we open a vibrant private sector in the country instead of just talking about entering government. And this is the thing, because the idea of government, it make it to the place where everybody in the country, whether they look also, if people are outside, the only place they see they can succeed is in government. And then you got the private sector owned by the foreigners. If very people crashing, our economy is controlled by foreigners.
Okay.
How is it? How we can make that change? That's what I'm saying.
All right, I think Mr. Sook has something to say before I let you go.
So Keto. What's on Keto?
Man, hearing you.
So I'm kind of like spinning around here this morning, almost midday. Is the avenue, is national government also creating this avenue to where they can entice, they can encourage people to even do businesses? Do you think that avenue, that playing field is there?
It's definitely, most definitely.
So how many factories have you opened? Send the playing fields there, Keto.
I haven't opened factory, but I got over 25 people working for me on my project now.
Yeah, my man, we're talking about farmland, talking about large scale thing, what we empowering people. How many of those you guys send the avenue is there open by your government, by the way, you have access.
And this is
the government can't even meet a salary. Can they build anybody out? Can they give anybody a loan?
That's the point. Something? Listen, enough financial strength. The same point I'm making right now.
Listen, what I'm saying. What I'm saying. I'll give you information that you need to understand, right?
Okay.
What I'm saying, I'm not financially strong, but this is what I just joined an organization just recently. They call it Pharmacy International. A group of Liberians put together. We are opening one of the largest pharmacy supplying group in Liberia. Pharmacy International. It was established in Virginia. And one of our members moved to Liberia just to go and put it on the ground.
Is it a publicly traded company that's registered with the FDIC?
It's exactly.
Is it registered with the FDIC?
I will give you. Yes,
because if your point here is to get some kind of susu club and give my money to somebody to go open something in Liberia, then that's the problem. So then tell us what do they trade as? On which stock exchange are they trading on? Are they on the NASDAQ? Okay. What do they trade as?
So no, I will not disclose all my information.
But that's the publicly traded information. And he said, you had to put the Keto, don't do that to you. Keto, we're baking you back. Keto, okay, wait. You can't tell us they are publicly traded, then ask you for what name they're trading under, then you say, you can't give me that one. Then how are they publicly traded?
I will give you information so you go and do the research.
Just make my life easy, my man. Just give me my life easy and give me the thing. So let me go and low oil around for the thing.
No, I'll do it to you. You were discussing this issue.
But we're listening now. There's some like Brent Poya listening that we want back.
Let's try to discourage people only looking at government and trying to.
My man, I gotta go to jail. You not gonna give me a hard time. There's so money. I know you live in your living room laughing.
Okay, fella. So let me let the cat out of the box. She said no, his intention of bringing Vandala Patrick.
And you know what Kamika, you know Kato Kami say, we listen. She says I can go to check.
You know, he tried to promote the kick. Oh my God! But anyway, I like the brother.
But so yes, an open challenge to kind of prove me that I am biased because I try to promote Vandala Patrick. Please let us know how we can get Nathaniel McGill or all the other people that are running on CDC. We'll bring them on the scene, simply put, and I'll be as fair and balanced and respectful to them.
No, we all try. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know, but I am
on a serious note, Vandala Patrick did extremely well, as he usually do, to explain. One of the topics he touched on was the disability, people with disability in Liberia. And you know, all his ideas and stuff. And if you saw what I wrote over there, to be honest with you, Liberia, we are not ready to reach that level.
I didn't want to push back on that, but we'll talk about that for a little bit because there were other laws that were precursor to the 1990 law. There were other disability laws before the 1990 law, but we'll talk about that one at a different time. But yeah, thanks for calling in, my brother. Let me try to get out of here before I get in trouble.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Sisi. I think it was a nice conversation.
Thank you, my people. Thank you for watching. We appreciate you. Please give to the LeBron Public Radio. We need your help. We have to be able to do this work and bring people on as much as we can. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.
Do you want to share your events with the world? Why not contact us? We are Liberia Public Radio, LPR. We are the specialists in advertisements, commercials, radio and TV services. We have the professionals that can help you sell your products and provide live coverage of all events, such as weddings, conventions, graduations, reunions, anniversaries, sports, birthdays, baby showers, religious activities, funerals, and many more. Take your phone right now and call any of the following numbers: 682-433-8802, 267-648-6089, 484-786-3337, or 916-533-2048. Our customer service representatives are waiting to take your calls and give you the needed assistance. It is LPR, the home of excellent media services and your friends in business. Hello listeners, this is Mazola, the lover boy. I'd like to invite you to this exciting program. It is called Dancing for Jesus. It is intended to play beautiful inspirational music to help you turn your life to God. Join me on every Sunday from 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is our way of showing appreciation to God for the good things He has done for us and continue to do. Don't miss this opportunity. Join Mazola Gizi on every Sunday from 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the program Dancing for Jesus. Please be there because I will be here to rock it out for you.